I'm Brandon.
And I'm Jesse. We're Cannabis School.
Having cannabis-infused conversations
With everyday people,
cannabis companies,
celebrities,
and your mom.
Welcome
to the Sesh.
All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the Sesh. We have an amazing guest with us today, Matt Skinner from this lovely beverage company, High Rise. We're actually sipping on their brand. And what are you sipping on right now?
So I've got their Blood Orange Delta 9 Seltzer.
Dude, this pineapple, the best way to describe this pineapple flavor is if you took fresh pineapple, put it into a blender, sift it through a strain, and then poured it in here, and they put some lovely Delta 9 in there. Matt, thank you for being on the show.
I love hearing that.
Yeah, it's so delicious, man.
Yeah, it's super
Thanks.
tasty. So you said you didn't start in beverages. What got you into High Rise, like into the cannabinoid space?
So about 5.5 years ago now, we launched another brand called Charleston Hemp Collective. Me and my wife did. My wife suffers from ulcerative colitis. So that's what our whole movement behind getting the industry. We've always had a passion for cannabis. I spent a good portion of my life living up in Humboldt and Chico, California.
Nice.
No money in the pocket, getting in that old Ford Explorer, the box ones that I just drove off the street with a credit card, and just had to make it to Humboldt and have that life experience at 19 years old. And but anyway, we've always had a passion for cannabis. We've done it just since we were kids. I moved back to South Carolina after that journey out west, and we connected back again. And she really didn't realize she had ulcerative colitis till her latter years, and that was a couple years prior to her getting involved with CBD. And prescription to steroids was going to be the journey for the rest of her life, and no one really wants to go down that route. And somebody just really got her interested in CBD. Farm Bill had passed, and we knew that there was a movement going on. We went up to Asheville, North Carolina, saw them jumping in the CBD dispensary space, so to speak, and they were just being very progressive with it. And we wanted to bring that first concept back to Charleston, South Carolina. So we did that, opened the first store on King Street in Charleston. And then we wanted to expand. We had some neighbors who wanted to open a store down in Savannah on River Street. And we realized at that point, we needed to start manufacturing our own goods. So we partnered with a manufacturing facility up in Boone, North Carolina at that time, started creating our own product line. Those gentlemen up there cut their teeth from the hops industry prior to being an extraction of cannabis in the hemp space. And they just, when the West Coast movement of the brand Can and some other brands out there started creating micro versions, they were like, man, you really need to look into this. I was like, I just don't get it. I don't think people are going to really buy into this. And sure enough, we did a little research. We saw what was going on, and it just was a way to normalize cannabis for us all. That's something we always struggle. We always want to find a way to get past our standard consumers and people we've always known kind of in our little circle, just really get it in other people's hands, find a way for them to feel comfortable with it and get away from those stereotypes. So anyway, High Rise was born through that, and Charleston community started taking it on, some of the on-premise, bigger restaurants in the community. And before you know it, here we are. So it's been an awesome time.
That's cool. I read an article or something. They had said that your guys' product almost sells more than like an alcoholic beverage in a certain location.
So there's Bottles, which is our big bottle shop in Mount Pleasant. They were kind of one of the first bottle shops in the state of South Carolina to really get on board this whole microdose THC movement of hemp.
Yeah.
Us being a Charleston brand, one thing that's great about Charleston is the community supports its brands, especially when they're doing well and it's innovative. And we just, after we were there for about a year, we caught wind that on the liquor side, because they cut the liquor side off and then they've got the beer and wine side. The liquor side, High Noon seltzers are their number one seller. And on their beer and wine side, which, they're size of a total wine, just to put it in perspective, was High Rise Beverage out of all the beer and wine in there. It's cool to see, but it's just how much of a movement it is right now for this category. It's absolutely crazy.
I bet that's like one hell of an accomplishment to be the number one seller on that side.
It's every day it's humbling. It's really cool.
So where have you seen the most growth in it as far as like, because you guys are doing online sales, of course. Where are you guys seeing like a lot of people buying this one outside of your state?
There's been a tremendous amount. Like I said, I'm in Florida right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of movement going on in distribution across the board. For the first year we were in this space, distributors really didn't want to jump on board. They were worried about losing their alcohol license, the regulatory aspect of things. And like anything in our space, it evolves.
Yeah.
We're always struggling for more and more regulation, but over this last couple of months, distributors have kind of started to come out the woodworks. I think they know that the dance is here and the genie's out the bottle and it's here to stay. Um, and each state has kind of tightened their own specific regulatory way of controlling what they feel comfortable with state by state. That makes it a little challenging because sometimes our labels can be different state by state, or some of our packaging can be different. Georgia is now going to, in October, come into effect, and we're going to have child lids on these kind of child-proof ones, just like you see on the regular
Yeah.
THC can. So you're going to start seeing more and more of that, which is really cool, but there's an evolving aspect of it. We are in the process right now of talking to a lot of your bud houses, which is exciting. Which I would have never thought I'd be able to say that, but that's why I'm down here in Florida. We had a couple of meetings down here with a couple of big distributors, and we're expanding. Nashville was our second step past South Carolina, and we wanted to see if we could duplicate it. And sure enough, we did. We partnered with Sony Music in Nashville, which was a massive deal for us. That kind of happened as a fluke. We went to the CMAs last year for an activation with them. They were looking for an NA brand to activate with them.
Oh,
And they
wow.
had our products behind stage with a lot of artists we all know. Old Dominion was performing in that small
That's cool.
arena, El King. And after the show, about 4 weeks passed by, and we got a call from Sony, and they offered an official partnership with us. Miller Coors is their alcohol sponsor, and they offered a partnership with us for the year. And so it's just, again, goes back to that normalizing side of the industry. So, again, and we've done it again in Nashville is where I'm going with that. So now we're on premise and all your music venues there. You can find our product in a couple places down on Broadway already. So it's just becoming part of your daily drinks. And now we're expanding California. We're talking to a group in San Diego and LA right now. Statewide, Texas, Florida is where I'm at. Just had a big partnership in Chicago and Boston. So it's growing pretty rapidly as we speak.
Holy shit. That's
Yeah.
amazing because, in this space, there's a lot of different beverage
Yes.
creators and we've tried several of them. Some of them not so bad. Other ones, yeah, it's
Not
all
so
right.
great at all.
Yeah, we're good. But to hear that, a lot of it goes back to because I mean, I'm a big marketing guy. When you have such a clean looking brand, the can looks slick. It feels more like because I see a lot of them. They're these like tall, slender cans, and this just feels. I don't know why, but I just like the feel of the can. Everything went into the design of your guys' products, including the can, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We're very fortunate. We got a lady on our team, and she's been with me and my wife from day one. Started our first branding with Charleston Hemp Collective, and her name is Stephanie Zupek. And she had never crafted a beverage design before, and we were going for a lifestyle brand. We didn't want to go too heady because we felt like if we did, we could miss an audience we were trying to capture. We want to put something in everybody's hands that could sit against any nice beverage you would see in a restaurant. And High Rise rose with that brand, and very coastal themed with the rainbow. And I'll tell you, that's something we hear all the time. Everybody's like, man, the branding on here is really, really point on. It's just got a nice vibe to it. But that lifestyle vibe is kind of what we've tried to craft from day one. And that goes back to even the ingredients in the drink, like you're talking about the flavor of it. We created the flavor profiles before we thought about the THC side of it. We wanted to create a very solid drink that you would want to pick up at any time and drink. And then the cannabinoids were the piece that went in second.
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
I feel
I'm.
like that's the best way to approach it, though. I feel too many people don't approach that, and we've noticed that in a lot of the products that we've tried.
Yeah,
There have been
cannabis and
some that are
everything.
not, I have felt, are not really consumable. There was one they sent out, and it was supposed to be like almost like a whiskey replacement, but a
Oh,
THC infused one. And I like my whiskey neat. I will drink it neat. I'll drink it on the rocks. Like, I don't mix my drinks with that. So I tried it. I tried it on the rocks. It was horrible. It was like drinking gasoline and some chemical. And then I tried it as a mixed drink, like, oh, maybe I could make like, some kind of mule or something with it. Nope, not at all. Still, like, nothing would overcome those flavors. And to have something that truly is like, this is just a drink. Like you said, the cannabinoids are just an extra benefit on top of it. It's just like a nice, enjoyable experience.
well, the many people that I talk to, including in the business, like I bring them gifts, especially things like this. And what's funny is as soon as they get something like they go, oh man, I got to get a case of this. And they're like, you need to get like 3 cases of this. They're like, yeah, absolutely. Because they love the idea because they've got either a family member or themselves, I use cannabis, but I don't like to use it all the time. And I'd like something to just chill me out. I don't want to fully get into the smoke. And there's those people that, our audience are, we have a lot of people that listen to our cannabis podcasts that don't even use cannabis anymore. And they're looking for alternatives because they're just like, I can't smoke anymore. So when you're looking at a product such as this, like the feeling I get on this is really relaxed. Like I am super chill, sometimes too chill. Like I was smoking a little bit. I drank this and I was like, oh man, it's like falling
Just make you
asleep.
super chill then.
Yeah.
I
But
surprisingly, I actually feel it. Like, not
yeah,
heavily, but like
no,
I
it's a
I have a
nice
really high
feel.
tolerance. So for me, like, to have any sort of relaxation or any sort of sensation that I feel from this low of a dose is not very typical.
Yeah. Well,
I
and
love
and to go into that, so heard Humboldt County. So take us back to the day. So you've been in cannabis for a long time.
a long time. So that was, man. Yeah, I'm gonna age myself right now. The cavemen were walking in Humboldt when I was hanging out there. Um, that's 28 years ago now, 29 years ago. So yeah, I'm 49, but yeah, right at 20, had to move up to Humboldt, lived in Arcata, lived in the square there. I lived in a house with other people who lived in the house, and everybody was literally speaking a different language because I think everybody was just so high all the time. And that's just kind of, I'll be honest, I got paranoid there. Paranoia hit me in Humboldt. It's just like I couldn't relate. I was like, I am not this granola. I mean, I enjoy the space so much, but I was like, I have social anxiety. Maybe the weed was just too damn good up there. I don't know, but it just,
That could have been. Was Humboldt.
yeah.
No,
Man.
it's super cool. So you're able to go through that. I mean, and was your wife? So she wasn't always into cannabis. How long you guys been together?
Oh,
They were
she's always been in cannabis. We've actually this is the crazy part of our
10
whole
and 8.
story.
They've
We've got
been
a
friends
picture.
since they were little.
Yeah, we've got a picture when I was 10 years old and she was 8, kissing on my grandma's front porch step. So,
Oh,
hey, listen, we are from South Carolina. Do you expect anything else other than that? But everybody stays together in that small state. But anyway, we've known each other. We split up, of course. We dated throughout high school. I moved out west just for the journey. She stayed back in Charleston. And then once I was in the restaurant business out there, had a couple restaurants, sold them, and came home, and we just connected right away. And we've been together ever since. I didn't know anything about her ulcerative colitis at that time. Like I said, this is something that, I think as a female or even as a male, when you're younger, it's just not a cool thing to talk about. We get older, we understand our body does crazy things, and we're more comfortable talking about that stuff. But yeah, but when I lived out there in Arcata, man, I kind of lived in that house, like I said. And then from there, I moved and I lived in a tree for a little bit. So,
What?
okay, go back
and
there.
then my
In a
mom
Tell us
said,
about the tree. Tell
In a
us about the
tree,
tree.
yeah.
so I mean, I was like, I was just on that journey. It was that life journey. I wanted to be granola. I got
How
freaked
many
out.
mushrooms were involved in living in the
Listen,
tree?
there were none at that point. But yeah, I can't. Speaking of mushrooms, that's my next big thing. So
Cool. But
the next chapter of my life is the mushroom journey. But I moved into just a tree house kind of concept, and no phone, no cell service. And I remember going down the road to call my mom and dad, and they were like, listen, we're going to let you go live your life, but you got to do one thing. My mom said, she goes, you got to be somewhere I can get a hold of you. And that was the moment I was like, okay. So I flipped a coin, and it was between Bend, Oregon, or Chico, California. And the coin hit heads, and I moved down to Chico, California, and was there, and then got in the restaurant business somehow. And, you know, life has always had a stepping stone with the flip of a coin for me.
Right. No accidents. It's just like wherever you land, that's it. Because, I mean,
Heads or tails, where am I going?
yeah, you got a checkered past just like me. Like, oh, wait a minute, you were doing what at what time? Like, yeah, I was here at this time. I did this. Like, I tell people about it, like, yeah, I was in the Navy, and then I was in a mental hospital working with people, and they're like, what, a mental hospital? Then I was a rock mason, and then they're like, what the, how many things you've done? So you sound like real similar. You're just jumping around.
We love cannabis. Don't we just kind of go with the flow a little bit? Sometimes if we allow things to work that way. It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes, you know, we let society get in our head and we start taking certain moves, but most of the times we can find a cool journey and find our path. Look at you guys. I mean, you guys are doing what you love right now. You're talking every day about cannabis with great people in the industry. It's awesome.
I mean, it's surprising. We never thought it would be at this point.
No,
So.
we just wanted to be we just thought it was going to be two stoners talking out of Utah, and nobody and everybody thought we were from California for a long time. They still do to this day. They're like,
Yeah, there's a
oh
lot
man.
of them.
I think the funniest thing I ever get, like whenever I meet somebody, they go, man, I thought you'd be taller. Like what?
I
You
wish I was a
sound
little bit
taller.
taller.
How does one sound taller? I
I
don't
have no
understand.
idea.
Yeah, no.
You project a large
I
voice.
guess so. I guess so. But man, just hearing about that. So we get through all that one, but I really want to go into what's really at kind of like the root of it, because the everything we've read about it all comes back to your wife and being able to get this started over here.
Yeah.
What was that process like in her suffering, and how were you able to find relief?
You know, through the simple aspects of a tincture at the time of CBD, she's always been supportive of me since I moved back when I was right at 30 years old from California. We connected back. She had already lost her mother, and I knew her mother. And I met her when she had moved home with her father. Her father was on his deathbed. We connected, and she was came home from Charleston to just caretake for him. And we connected back at a bar. She heard I was there. Some of her friends saw me out at a bar. She came there. We connected, and we've like literally since that day haven't separated ways. And I ended up moving in with her like a week later with her father. And we found that picture of me when I was 10 and she was 8 and going through her parents' stuff. We didn't even have it. So that was kind of a crazy thing because she had lived in that house forever. And so she lost her father. And she's always been supportive of everything I've done in my career. Like it's always been about me. And when this whole farm bill took place and we had an opportunity to really step into this space, I really wanted to make it about her. She really had a passion for this. And we went up to Asheville, like I said, and took a look at what was going on. And then that's when we stepped into this journey. I thought it was going to be something small that I would just support her in. We didn't realize it was going to turn on to a full-blown career for both of us. And it's been the most fascinating time of my life. Then
What
my
was that stepping stone then in the jump from like, hey, this is just CBD and this is really beneficial in helping my wife to, hey, we're going to create a business out of this? Like, what was that key
we
moment?
she wanted to do a store, and we thought literally that that's all we were going to do. We really wanted, when we went up to Asheville, one thing, if you guys have ever had a chance to go to Asheville, if you know anything about it, it's beautiful mountains, but also a lot of farmland up there. So a lot of hemp growers who are actually creating their own product lines. And a lot of those stories up there, those smaller startup dispensaries were people's farms, and they were locally growing their own hemp and they were crafting their own products. And I just got mesmerized by that. I thought that was super cool. So when we opened our store, when she went to open a store, I thought, you know, I would continue to focus on what I was doing, help her get the store open. And I soon just got fascinated by the whole thing, the science behind cannabis, how much every month I felt like a new cannabinoid we were discovering something about it here in once this farm bill came together, and, this whole hemp movement's moving forward. And I just got so mesmerized by it. And then I started seeing the business side of it, of course. And so we just started to create a bigger journey. And I stepped away from what I was doing at the time, which I was in the gaming industry prior to this, the casino gaming, and we'd help develop games and everything. Come out of Guangzhou, I enjoyed that. I'd spend time in China and bring games back here, and we would develop them and see how well they do on the floor in different casinos. And I enjoyed the mathematics side of that, seeing how long you could keep somebody on a game and they would lose their money before they would step away. You got to let them win a little something, but you can only see too many people lose so much. And once you get into that industry heavy, before it starts draining your soul. So, I mean,
wow,
it was a lucrative business, but it was also very much just focused on that. The science, I mean, the mathematics side of the gaming side of it stepped away from you when you start seeing grandmothers and people start losing everything they own. You never like to see that.
Yeah, that's got to be really hard to see.
I must really be high because I'm drifting off into 4 different topics.
No, dude, you go. Because that's, honestly, it's why we want individuals like you. That's why we reached out. That's why we wanted you on the show, because you just have a very unique story. And even here, like when we're peeling these layers, like I'm just laughing because I'm just like, yeah, I was in Guangzhou and brought back gaming to here, and just like, holy shit, this guy has done everything. And
One
it's
hell of a
like
life, yeah.
When you're out there talking and you're drinking these seltzers, you're talking like there's nothing you can't run out of talking about. Like it's just like, oh yeah, this one time I was in the Da Nang River and we were helping these locals and we helped them get across. And yeah, anyways, so I drink cannabis, and so I mean it's just so cool because it all aligns, right? There's no mistakes. And with what you've been able to do, because you're talking about the business side, and a lot of people don't understand that cannabis is really hard to be able to make a profit. And a lot of the smaller companies, that's why they disappear so quickly. But it sounds like you guys are blowing up. I mean, you got a deal with Sony to help out with that one, right? With Miller. So it just looks like you're really doing it the right way. Kind of take us through that business side, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs and wantrepreneurs that are thinking like, hey, I could do this too. But it sounds like you really had a good formula from day one. You just aligned with the right people. Is that right?
Yeah, we've been fortunate. I mean, you do know that, and I think a lot of people don't know what you just said. This industry is hard. Most people that get in it out the gate think, oh my gosh, it's the gold rush, it's the green rush. It's not that at all. I mean, there's so many people who jump in the industry, and we see so many people come and go every year, and I think the key to anything in life, is intent, and never step away from what your true mission is. And I think, unfortunately, in this industry, people let dollar signs get in front of their face too quick, and they'll run down a rabbit hole of maybe something they didn't originally get in the industry for, because there's a movement in that one specific topic for a moment, and they'll go chase it. Next thing you know, they've just lost everything that they stand for. We've had to make some tough sacrifices that haven't always been lucrative, and it's challenged whether or not we're going to be around 6 months later, just by always keeping the integrity of our products so high end. I mean, we've never been one, even with our other brand, that's raced to the bottom when it comes to price points.
Right.
We're very, we curate where we want to be when we wholesale our product lines. Quite honestly, we won't put our products in gas stations, not our beverages 100%, but like the Charleston Hemp Collective brand. And it's not that there's anything wrong with gas stations. I would love to put our products in gas stations, but unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff that comes from all over, and it can kind of sometimes get in a Rolodex of products that people start to discredit and get worried about. So, with the Charleston Hemp Collective brand, we're in high hotel chains. We really try to curate where that goes.
It's a very clean, well-designed brand.
Yeah. So anyway, I say that I think you just have to have that intent. You got to have intent.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that you never sub quality for $1. And I think some of these minor little things are what happens to a lot of companies, unfortunately. And then just your marketing. I think you want to make sure you really get your messaging out the gate. We, again, like I said, we're very lifestyle driven. We never wanted to create anything that looked too heady. That's just not our message is. We want to try to, again, go back to that normalizing. It's a goal for us every day to see somebody who's never tried cannabis to actually try one of these products for the first time, or get a message on Instagram or Facebook or anything, just saying, man, this has really changed our lives. And we've always been told forever that cannabis is devil's lettuce, you know, I mean, so it's cool when you see that kind of stuff happen. It really is.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about, like, you know, when you have to make these sacrifices where you're going to forfeit profits to be able to either test something out or maintain the integrity of the product. It's incredibly difficult, and many people don't know about that. Like, if you were to go into gas stations or into some big box store, your margins get even smaller and smaller and smaller just to pay for that shelf space. And especially if it's mid shelf, you're screwed. If you're at the bottom, you're on your way out. So it's like, if we can get that middle over there to be able to get a premium product such as this, it's great to hear that you're in hotels, and it's even better that, I mean, with e-commerce, this is helping tremendously in order for people to be able to get their hands on these products.
Yeah, and you know, one thing about our website with the highrisebev.com, you can go on there. We've got so much information on there about just the benefits of this stuff. We've got a full information page that just talks about a lot of the questions they're asking. I failed a drug test. I mean, some of the basic things that we know, but it's amazing how many people just don't really understand the ABCs of it. Sometimes I think I'm the most layman talker ever. Like, if you're going to get a big vocabulary, I'm walking out the door, you know, but even the way I talk sometimes is too elevated for a lot of people that are just now learning about this. It has to be dumbed down so much. And you really want to just remember when you're speaking with people to keep it like that, so people can understand.
Yeah, that's kind of how we broke down the podcast, was because in all of the conversations that we've had over the years with so many people, it was really because we live in Utah. It's a very conservative, like, dogmatic on one way or the other, like, state. And so, and just like everywhere else, it's been like since the 80s and all before, how many of it's been just say no, like the DARE program, all of this stuff of marijuana is bad. Like, so fuck, where was I going with that?
He's high.
This strain of
I love it.
oh my gosh.
That's what they get you.
Yeah, I was like, man, I don't even know what this is.
And he's crossfading it too by smoking out of his vaporizer for sure. No, it's difficult to be able to educate your audience about it, especially where you know you don't have the ability to be able to use mainstream marketing as you would anywhere else, right? You're not able to just blast out there with SEO and PPC, which is good because, I mean, they've changed everything in the marketing. Cookies is being phased out, which is really hurting a lot of companies who wish they could just bombard you with tons of advertisements, where cannabis brands have to really grow by word of mouth. So if it's starting to perpetually grow outside of your state and more people are being able to see it, like if the fact that it's in a hotel says a lot about your product, because there are so many of these types of products everywhere. And what's great is you guys are just sticking to what you know. You're not trying to do everything out there. Like, are you guys going to start coming out with vape carts and brownies second, or what's next?
Yeah, no, so you're right. So it's really cool that, you know, I mean, the bigger corporations that you probably wouldn't see, like High Rise is the CBD side, is in the DoubleTree in Nashville. The Drift Hotel, which is a really, really new trendy hotel in Nashville that just opened up. We're in their rooms. We're, you know, as part of their service. The Thompson Hotel, which is the Hyatt group in Savannah, we just got an order to be in all 193 of their rooms is another.
Wow.
That's what I'm talking about.
I think we are starting to see such a bigger trend going into this, and even to see those bigger chains that are wanting to be a little more progressive and have that holistic vibe. They're moving into these products. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, I think about that. You remember that when we were down at MJ BizCon, there's a hotel being built right now, or it's already built. They're just transitioning it to a 100% cannabis
based hotel.
base hotel.
That you can like smoke in it or partake in it. That it'll be
Yeah, because you can't do it in any of their casinos or anything like that right now. But to be able to
Who
have
was
it
that
there,
group? I think so we went, do you know the group? Because I think they've got they're doing about 10 of them, aren't they?
yeah. And the only way they're able to do it is they can't have any gambling whatsoever inside this hotel. So no machines or anything, nothing, no video. So they can be able to have that because that was the biggest thing for them. They're like, oh well, we don't want guests to I'll keep feeding you drinks, but not cannabis.
Well, because cannabis, you'll make logical decisions. So you're not going to spend your money. You're going to go.
Well, you'll get
that's
bored.
a lot of money. Like, but if you're drunk, you're going to be like overconfident. You're going to just keep spending. Like it's way easier.
It's like what Matt was talking about. Like it's soul sucking when you're watching these people. Like that's what we saw in Vegas, dude. Like I'll tell you what, man, it's been a long time. Like when you're younger and you see any place with casinos and stuff like that, it looks like so much fun.
Yeah.
And when I was 21,
it
was awesome. But now, like when we were there, it was depressing seeing these. Yeah, go.
So y'all were just out there I haven't been out there since the year before for MJBizCon. I'm going out in like a week and a half. It was a week and a half? Yeah, I'm going out there in like a week and a half. And I just don't think, because like I said, getting out of the gaming industry, and I just haven't, I used to go there all the time with that. And I don't know. I just can't get into it anymore. I'm excited to go out there for people to see, but I'm with y'all.
We checked out Planet 13. That was an interesting experience just to see like the size of the world's largest dispensary.
The Costco of cannabis.
Like it was large. They had a lot of displays. Awesome? It was a dispensary at the end of the day, but it was big. Like I was impressed by the amount of products and that they had on display, that they even carried. I was impressed at like the amount of registers they had, the amount of customers that they went through. But like at the end of the day, it's just another dispensary.
Yeah. And I think the funniest thing down there, and this was the best, you're going to appreciate this, Matt. There was this really great sign that said, Amber here, like March 31st, dancing on the main stage. And then the next slide that came up was, we also have daycare. So I'm like, that's really cool that they're helping out strippers and daycare. And I was like, that's the most uplifting thing I've seen so far here in Vegas, because it's like, awesome. It's just old people shuffling around with this constant, like, constipated look on their face. Just.
But was it busy? I mean, I guess it was. I mean, you said that
it's always busy.
Wow.
It's always busy. Just people chasing dreams or something.
Or running away from from something.
Like you just see these couples all dressed up trying to look fancy and all that, but you're hood. Like you just see them, you're like, come on now. Like you're just trying to play.
And those people trying to get so shit-faced and forget life for like a weekend. And I'm like, gosh. Oh, yeah,
and just that, it's just a vibe there that you feel. But the coolest thing was when we were down at MJBizCon was that it was like the only place where everybody was uplifted. Everybody was excited. It was like you didn't even know you were in Vegas anymore. And that's sad to think about, because it's supposed to be an awesome, fun, happy place, but it's almost like Disneyland. When you get
Family
there, you're
City,
pretty
USA.
disappointed. Yeah. You're just like, shit, this is going to cost me a lot of money. That's all I think.
It was good the year before last. That was my first time ever going, and I loved it. Just interesting. I tell you, our industry, though, people ask me all the time, they're like, does it ever slow down? Do you ever get like tired? I'm like, no, because every day something so progressive happens that you're like, I'm so happy I'm part of this time in life where I'm part of cannabis. Don't y'all feel that way all the time? Like, I'm like, man, I mean, just like we just said here about the Thompson Hotel, it's just, there's so many things that every day change in our industry. And I think when you struggle so many years just to get people to understand the space, and it's happening so fast now, the normalization of it, it's just cool. It's definitely a prohibition time that we're going through right now, heavily.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy because we're global, and we pop up in countries' top charts every week. I think we were in Germany, Italy, and a couple other ones.
Oh, dude, we're in places where it's illegal to have cannabis, and they're still listening to it. Like they're just like, nope, this is cool. But that is exactly what you said. You're a part of that time, because we need those individuals within cannabis that are not going to be all heady. Like we joke around about it because that's the satire. We all grew up with it. Like, oh, stoner, you know, if we go real far back, Fast Times at Ridgemont High with Spicoli, with what's his name, Sean Penn. Like, oh, you remember that show? I know you know that. You ever,
Of course.
dude, that's so awesome. Like Mr. Hand.
Spicoli's the OG.
Whoa. Oh, bud, why are you doing that? Like it's so refreshing because like if you think about it, like those who use cannabis, they're really laid back and really open-minded. Yeah. And that's what we're trying to do with our podcast. That's what you're doing with your beverage.
Like ours is always go low and go slow. You know, we are big on flower first because the experience is usually you get a lot more of the entourage effect. You get the better whole complete experience from the plant versus a lot of the distillates, the extractions. You get not the best experience for that. But for so many people, you know, this introduction of drinkables, like how many people like have drink a ton? I have tons of friends who drink all the time. I drink all the time. And now I like the flavor of it, but I don't really like the feeling of drinking. So I'll have a drink maybe once every couple months or something, but mostly it's for the flavor because I really like the flavor of a good scotch or the flavor of like a craft beer every once in a while. That's really about all I drink. But when you have so many people who are like, hey, you know, I don't like hangovers anymore, or hey, I don't like feeling like shit, or making really stupid decisions because alcohol takes off some of your like inhibitions that maybe you might normally have, and cannabis doesn't do that same thing. So I can still kick my feet up, relax at the end of the day, have a drink, but then I'm not stupid. I'm not, you know, having worse sleep. I'm not making decisions that might not be the smartest thing. Like there's all these things that come from cannabis that you don't see with alcohol and that I think that's why so many people are switching to these simple drinkables. It's because there's familiarity with it. Like, well, but at the same time,
there's also not
so
just the
much better.
convenience part, but there's the almost the clandestine ish part of it as well, because now it just looks like I'm just having a drink, and it doesn't really help. You know, I'm a part of the local faith here in Utah, the LDS Church, and you know a lot of individuals within the church will ask me, they're like, well, I really don't want to get into smoking. I don't want to, and I don't want to do an edible because I've heard a lot of bad things about it. And like, yeah, you shouldn't get into it unless you really know what you're doing. But at the same time, like something like this is so much easier to recommend going, you know what, try this out, you know, drink about half of it. I mean, you could split this with somebody and you're going to get a lot out of it. And they're like, oh, well, maybe I want to enjoy the whole drink, but you'll know when you've hit your limit. You could pound this as a beer. I'll get to my fourth one and I'll be like, all right, now I'm pretty lit.
High. Yeah.
I get one of these and that's like,
they're so easy to take down. I think that is a pro and a con with these drinks. And I don't want to say it's a con, but they're so light and they're refreshing. They're easy on the palate. So you can knock a couple of them back really quick. But I tell everybody that I'm like, just start if you know, even if you're experienced with cannabis, but if you're kind of a lightweight, drink a half a can and sit back and relax for 15 minutes. Let it kick in. Your body will let you know. But yeah, that's the biggest thing. The thing about an edible is smoking's always good because it hits you immediately. But the thing about an edible that I think has scared everybody at one point in their life, you know, they've just gone into freaking outer space. I'll never forget.
Your first
I
hobby.
was living in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we were flying. My buddy came into town. His name is Matt Tyre. He's going to love me throwing him out here on this podcast like that. But he took care of a whole community of Columbia. When everybody needed to get their local buzz, Matt was the man. So he was my best friend growing up. He's always been my best friend. And we were going out to High Times Festival in San Francisco. So we jumped plane, and for some reason I don't know why we think eating an edible, and I know we've heard these stories before, is smart when you're getting on a plane. We thought we had first class, we did business first, and it was the row right behind the first class, so we're just staring at everybody in first class, squished in with somebody in between us. And I'll never forget that flight. It was all the way from East Coast to West Coast, and I was whipping my balls because that edible was just, we just kind of went all in. And I remember hearing some foreign language behind me. And I was thinking, the plane's going down. I mean, the whole time, and we did not speak that whole flight. I shit you not, we didn't speak the whole
Oh,
flight.
that's
When
how
we
high
got
you
off
were.
the plane, we ran off the plane and we spoke at baggage. But it was it was the longest 7 hours of my life. Every minute seemed like it was about an hour. So
Yeah.
That
That time dilation when you're that high is crazy.
it is, because
Yeah.
everything around you is so intense. You're like, oh my
yeah,
gosh.
and it's
And
just
you
eking by.
hyperfixate on everything. Like you said, the voices behind you, and you're like, oh shit, there's a different language. Like, and then your mind goes down these loopholes and
It goes
spirals, and
down
you're
in
like,
rabbit holes.
oh
It
yeah,
goes down in
because
rabbit
you're
holes.
so high and it goes so fast. And you're just like from 0 to 100 and like nothing. And yet you're still just sitting there going,
Yeah. I guess I did a really good job of stereotyping there a minute ago. I didn't mean to do that, but you
No,
start
no.
weird things when you get in those moments. I was like, oh
you're,
my gosh.
You're making me think about a Dave Chappelle skit where he's like, I was on this plane, and then the guy comes up and he goes, "Everybody on the fucking ground right now." And he goes, and it was really confusing for me because he was Asian. I'm like, why are you talking like that? Right? But I mean, it's some of that. And then when you were talking about, I was thinking about Joey Diaz. He was on a podcast. He's like, Joe Rogan. Look, Joe Rogan. I was on a flight and I had 500 milligrams of an edible, and I was freaking the fuck out. I was having panic attacks. And they land. He goes, "Why didn't you tell me that in the flight?" And he goes, "'Cause I'm back, motherfucker." And he pops another one. And it's just like, what the hell? But like thinking about that, like I know that intensity, like it's just in that time dilation when you talked about, it's like time stands still. It doesn't
Yeah.
move.
I'm just telling everybody, do not go down the edible. I'm going into a journey land while you're getting on a plane. Because
No.
there's nowhere to go.
yeah,
There is just nowhere to go except,
close your
unless you want
eyes,
to,
put on
I
some
mean,
headphones.
yeah, I mean, you can try, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. No, I kind of wanted to talk to the audience real quick about this. So we've been about 30-ish, 40 minutes or so far.
40,
And
45.
now what's really nice about this drink compared to other ones I've had. Usually they hit me pretty quick and they go pretty quick. This one's like a really nice slow build, and then it just keeps coming up, but it's not too much. For me, it's really great. And I mean, I've had a little bit of flour, but it's really nice. Like I don't have a yucky feeling. I'm glad you said you didn't go a Delta 8 route. Delta 8 makes me feel horrible.
We're not a big fan of it at all.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
And we've been spoiled though. Once you've had a lot of flour, then you start having Delta 8 and you're like, this isn't even diet weed. There's just like some weird dude in the corner and he's from like Belarus and he's like, don't worry, drink whatever is in it. You'll like it. And you're like, no, what is this? And you're like, it's chemicals, but you'll enjoy. This feels so clean.
Yeah.
This is so nice.
it does kind of the one thing about these drinks, and Libiss, my wife, she's sitting here with me now, but she was saying the other day, because she's like, oh my gosh, it was like an hour in, and she was like, I still feel like I'm rising a little bit from this, but it's not like a rise.
Interesting.
I want to be careful when I say that, because I don't want to scare people out there that, holy cow, because it's so controllable. It never is like you like go from one space to like outer space. It's like you just feel like you're just getting more in the moment, and you're just really. So we opened the first cannabis dry bar in the state of South Carolina. It's called, and it's on the backside of one of our storefronts. We opened a High Rise dry bar. We did it so people could come in, experience these drinks for the first time, and we kind of went all in with it. But I'll never forget, once we were 3/4 the way building it out, and we had already gone all in, I drank one of those drinks and I got high in there. And I was like, am I going to want to sit here around a bunch of people like me that I don't know? Like this? I was like, this might have been the worst idea ever.
Bro, that's my favorite. I will go talk to
but
everyone in there. Like,
honestly, it is the best. Everyone in that space goes through this experience together. You don't even know, because you're in the middle of just these great conversations. And then what happens when you leave, that sucks. You got to come back. Like you're in that space. It's like you can't go anywhere else from that dry bar. If you're in that zone with everybody, it's a really cool place. If I ever get to get you guys in Charleston, I have to bring y'all there.
That's the vibe that you would hope for, though, because like I look at bars, and so my girlfriend and I actually went to a bar last night, just because they have this burger that she craves every once in a while, and we don't really ever go to bars. And I went in and it was kind of weird and like depressing and sad, and I'm like, this is not the vibe. Like usually when I'm hanging out with friends and that, we're smoking, we're all laughing. Like it's a very different vibe. And I feel like that is the vibe usually that I would expect in something like a dry bar. Like it's very different experience than a lot of the like most of the people going to the bars that I'm seeing are like sad or depressed or like just life's really shitty or man, I just worked like really fucking long day and I'm exhausted. Like they're not there happy. Like
Yeah.
it's just a very different atmosphere. So that sounds like a really interesting, unique experience. You said that's in South Carolina?
It's in Charleston.
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 Okay.
It was our next storefront we were doing for the Charleston Hemp Collective.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah, yeah.
like, listen, we need to really just build an awesome bar. And that's been the highlight of that store. It's not the storefront that we have a lot of recognition with. The bar, it got a lot of press. And
What's
it's
the
just been
bar's
awesome.
name?
It's the High Rise Dry Bar. You
Okay.
can find it on Instagram, High Rise _ Dry Bar. It's a really cool. It shows you all these, and we make all kind of mocktails with our drinks. So we'll
Okay.
take our versions of this real fruit can, and we make all these mocktails with it. So it's been really cool. It's very
That's awesome.
elevated.
Yeah. So if you guys are out in South Carolina, go check it out. We'll have the links down below. Make sure you guys
Yep.
stop in. Yeah, definitely sounds like it's
So when
sweet vibe.
you were talking about how it just keeps like rising up, what came to my mind was like being on a Ferris wheel, like a slow Ferris wheel, right around about it's getting close to dusk. You get that nice sun coming out there, and it's just relaxing, and I feel like moving up, just slowly going through it.
Yeah.
Like that's how this is. The feel of it is really. It's just very calming, very
Yeah.
nice. But exactly that. Like if I was going to a business networking event and be like, don't be serving that. We need to have these here. Everybody having these,
Well,
so you're going to talk.
We go to so many networking events
Yeah.
that that's what they do is they serve alcohol. It's like an open bar, and you're like, how much better would an open dry bar be?
I don't know. I kind of like it because you get to see that dipshit go a little too far. And he's
Yeah.
like trying to be
They're-
outgoing, but you're like,
There's
dude,
Or like
always
that
stop.
weird one who's in the corner trying to hit on the woman and she's just feeling awkward and she's like, bro, I'm ready to go. Like, can you just back off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to have one of those around.
I
Yeah,
know.
that's the
Gotta
fun
have
one.
something to talk about a little bit.
So what's been one of the like unique or odd things that you've seen CBD actually used for or benefit that you didn't expect?
I got to tell you, them damn can of dips. Have y'all
What?
seen them?
No.
I don't know. I mean, I just see
Oh,
it
like a
advertised.
dip.
The
Yes.
dips.
I just
just-
recently heard or
I
saw
just
those.
recently, it's popping up on my reels when I'm flowing through there, looking at certain things. But I just think that's a unique thing. It's different, but I think it serves a really cool purpose. I mean, for people who are looking for something different, but that would be something I don't know that I ever would have thought of. I
Me
can't
either.
What?
I'm not, I mean, I've never gotten into tobacco
No,
or
I used
definitely
to
into
dip.
tobacco.
When I
So
was when I was
maybe
back
there's
in the
that
Navy.
demographic for it.
Well, no, there is. There's a huge demographic. You got to think about like veterans that come out, like still even now in the service when you come out. A lot of them dip because cigarettes are inconvenient or you can't have them in certain areas for one reason or another, right? It's not like back in Nam, they're like, don't smoke, they'll give away our position. Like it's just not as widely accepted. But you're seeing brands now that are tobaccoless that have nicotine in it, and you can put these little pouches and you can dip that. But Canna dip, dude, like
Isn't that cool? I mean, you
that's
think
so
about it,
cool.
I mean, it really is great. It's just so big plug to those guys. I don't know who they are, but they got a cool little product going on.
Yeah, because
That's interesting.
if it was tasted like Copenhagen, because I don't like the mint or the cherry, I'm like,
Mhm.
but I remember when I was in the service, I had a can of dip with me all the time from Copenhagen, just whipping that can, and then, but I mean, you knew it was bad for you, but if it was Canna,
Yeah.
man, I am
A little
peaked.
Wild. Well, and
I
it
am
would go
peaked.
into your mouth. So it would be like the quickest, best experience probably as well.
Oh, dude, and you know what? The whole time you're sipping on this, you're gonna get really elevated real quick.
Mm.
So I'll tell y'all what I think the new wave of it's coming. And you guys, when I say this, remember I'm East Coast. You guys are really, really in the grind with all the cool new stuff coming out, probably a lot more than I am. But there's a group out of Tennessee called Volunteer Botanicals, and these guys are awesome. Ex Big Pharma, but they are really into these tablets now. And I
Yeah, I
just
heard
think
about those.
very small microdosed, just kind of like almost like a breath mint, man. You just throw one in your mouth, 3 milligrams, you know, you got great fresh breath and you just are feeling beautiful at the same time.
Oh yeah,
I'm
but we've
telling you,
had those. Not that brand, but we've had ones like that. And
Mints.
it's just
Yeah.
like these little tiny microdose tablets. And I'm like, that is for so many people, that is like the perfect dose. That's the perfect product for like everyday person, like mom, dad, working person to just pop one and function
yeah.
throughout the day.
Do y'all see more? And I do want to ask you, do you see more people leaning into small dosing these days,
Yep.
especially? I just,
Always.
I love it. I love it because I just feel like there's a place for everybody's grandma. When there's a place
Yeah.
for everybody's grandma, you know you've done it right. Everybody's got to take care of that granny that they got, if they got
Yeah.
one.
Well, a
Uh,
lot of it we talk about is most people's intent isn't to get high. The intent is to achieve whatever relief from whatever ailment or,
Or to be in an elevated state.
yeah,
Like,
but
you know,
like not everyone's intent is to be high.
yeah,
And
exactly.
so it's, all these microdose products become this perfect design for all the moments that you're not wanting to be high. But hey, I've got stress, I've got anxiety, but I'm still working, I'm still running errands, I'm still being a parent. And for those people who aren't able to go puff on a pen or take a joint or do something, those microdose, these drinkables that are 5 milligrams, like these become these perfect doses for these people to use and not be too elevated to function and do their day to day, but just it's like how many people take
Mm.
anxiety meds or stress medication or depression medication, but a microdose is basically managing that same stuff without any side effects. Like,
it's so awesome. I mean, I think the unfortunate, and I'm sure you guys probably on every podcast somehow go down this rabbit hole because it seems to be such a point of conversation now, but it's what people need to hear. I mean, we've evolved so much in the industry, not only whether we're talking about cannabis, but whether we're talking about mushrooms. I mean, you've got to start looking at the science. And I just encourage everyone out there to just start looking at the science. Find, because you're right, not everybody wants to get high. We used to only associate mushrooms, we used to only associate cannabis with just getting stoned out of your head or going to Jupiter. It's
yeah,
not like that anymore. It's a place to find peace. And I mean, that's really for those of us who really love it and have the passion for it. It's not to always be elevated. It's to find a level of comfort in our everyday life. Um, and it's God's plant, man. Grab a hold of it.
Yeah, for real. It's something that, for companies like yours and for you and your wife personally, like it's when you go down that path and you start being able to either create a product or create a platform to educate people more often, now you have a responsibility. Like it turned from a passion to a responsibility. And that just compounds that passion for it even more. Because if you have a responsibility, then you have to be able to produce something that's really good for your community. And that's what it is. Like when you meet anybody who smokes cannabis, and you meet somebody over there, immediately you have a connection as if you were from the same town or same state or same country. Like if you meet somebody over there in Italy and he's puffing on a joint, you'd be like, hey, that smells
Yeah,
pretty good.
that's it. That's all you got to do. All you got to do is throw the finger and say, "That smells pretty good." I'll take the best puff. That's it. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the beauty of cannabis. See, people that don't smoke cannabis out there, if you're listening to this, that's how easy it is to make friends. You just have to get off the
high horse.
alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or get on to the high horse.
Well,
You know?
it'd be so cool to throw an event and have these drinks just readily available for everybody, and just seeing how many. And the question is like, how many new people can you meet today and make a great connection with, like a true
You know
connection?
how wonderful the world would be if everybody just picked up a cannabis drink at the same time and drank it. If the
Mm.
world came together for one moment and everybody drank one drink and then you just walked around, this would be the most lovely planet. It would
Yeah.
just be
Oh,
amazing.
truly.
When you see things from so many other perspectives, and so you're like it becomes so much less of us and them, and it's just like a we, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh man. So what's next? What's next for your company?
So, I am getting heavy in this beverage world, man. I love it. So with that being said, it's funny. I am 49, like I said, never in my life ever had an Instagram. My team just had me put one together a couple of weeks ago. So let me just throw it out there. Matt Skinner High Rise for everyone. If y'all want to kind of follow the journeys of what is next to come, because that gets dark and dirty behind closed doors. It can't be that pretty picture of the brand when we're going through legal issues state by state, and we're having to get behind closed doors at DHEC, and we're having to help write regulation, or we're dealing with law enforcement, or I'm getting arrested somewhere because I'm smoking some hemp flower. You never know what it's going to be, but it's all there behind the scenes at Matt Skinner High Rise. We're going to show this journey, and the beverage world for me is really big. So like I said, we just dropped the High Rise adaptogen line, and it will actually be on shelves here in a couple of weeks.
Tell us about that. What's the adaptogen line?
So the adaptogen line, we have a lift, and we also have a balance. And our lift has ginseng, rhodiola, and B vitamins in it. It's going to be like a substitution for like a Red Bull or something like that. But it's very, very health focused. It's made with real fruit, that water, and those adaptogens instead of the hemp. Same 2 grams of organic cane sugar, very health and wellness focused, but it's a way to go to a festival, have a good time. I drink a couple of these, and I kind of feel like that beginning stage of right before I microdose on mushrooms. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You walk outside and that wind just hits you perfect, and you're just like, today's going to be a damn good day.
Yeah.
That's kind of before you go into it. So it's such an uplifting feeling. But I want to.
How many of those is required to get to that?
What's that?
I said, how many of those is it to get to that?
Just 2 of these, and they're unbelievable. So, and then you know, my next project is going to be actually dropping a mushroom beverage. So I'm really putting some energy behind that and focusing. And like I said, a lot of that stuff I'm going to have on my personal Instagram behind the scenes at our manufacturers, working with the creation of that. But this new age world of NA drinking, the Gen Z movement. I mean, you know, I don't know if you guys know this, but I found this out. I just got back from Expo West, and it was really interesting hearing about Gen Z. And we're just really, they are a lot smarter than we are. They really care about everything has to have intent. They really want to understand founders behind brands. They want to make sure if a founder speaks on something that they can flip a can around and read the ingredients. They're never making sacrifices for that. And they also, you know, they like some funky tasting shit. I can tell you that. Stuff out there is funky, but they just care about their bodies, man. It's just, and next year they're going to take up 25% of our work population. That's how many Gen Z. That's the movement, right?
I mean, it's crazy to think about. There was something, my girlfriend watches a lot of TikTok videos and that, and it's interesting to see the Gen Z introduction to drinking. They have this thing called a Borg, basically, and when they go out drinking, they bring it, and it's like a milk jug or something, their own private sealable container with their own alcohol. They put electrolytes in it, they put like all this stuff, but then they don't worry about getting roofied or anything else, or, you know, having really shitty stuff, because it's these, like you said, they're smarter. They do things on a different level because they're like shit that we never even thought about. They were like, yeah, fuck it, I drink out of a garden hose. Like,
well, I know,
we were raised.
I'm close to your age, Matt. I mean, our generation growing up, it was exactly the way that we were raised. We were latchkey kids. You know, we were left to our own. We figure out our own things. And yeah, we're very self-sufficient, you know, there's not something to be like, oh man, this broke. Like, oh, I can fix that. Like, how the hell do you know how to fix that? Like, I was poor once.
Everyone just
had to figure this shit out, right? So it just is. But this new generation, they're definitely thinking about like more health conscientious. They're not just putting anything into their body. As when we grew up, they're like, hey, this is good for you. It's like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, you remember how like hydroxycut and stuff like that, like in the early 2000s, like everybody's popping that at the gym and they're like, oh yeah, that's going to be awesome. Later on, if you abuse the hell out of it, you're screwing up your heart really bad. So it's like, we were a little bit more open to just taking whatever somebody said, this will help you. You go, why not?
Right, cool.
But now they're more conscious of it going, is that, like you said, like, turning around
going, let me look and see. Oh no, that doesn't help. What the hell is that in there?
And what's really cool about this drink, I mean, you know, you have a lot of flavor in here at 4 grams of sugar per can. That's amazing. I'm a type 2 diabetic, so I've got to watch everything. And I gave up soda 3 years ago. I don't touch it. I really can't touch caffeine at all. I burned out my adrenal glands ODing on caffeine. That's the cool thing. It's with these types of drinks, you're not going to feel that way. And especially your adaptive one, the adaptogen one, man, that's super exciting because I didn't hear anything about there going, yeah, and we got a shitload of sugar and tons of caffeine in there.
Well, and the wider range of cannabinoids.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think this is going to be like an amazing experience.
Dude,
with
now
those
I want that
adaptogens.
in a gas station. I want to go pick that up.
Yeah, but like you said,
Yeah,
right now,
we're gonna.
gas station
we're-
quality it's
No,
associated
but
with
the
shitty
adaptogen
products.
one, though, if you
Oh,
think
the
about it,
drinkables. Yeah.
yeah, because the adaptogen, it's like you would want people to have a healthier alternative to what they're doing right now. I mean, I really fucked myself up drinking too many of those, so now I won't even touch it. Not you couldn't get me to touch it, but to have something like that, that's so cool.
We've got a chain called Refuel, which is 209 high-end convenience stores. Those like kind of like a Wawa, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Where they've
Mhm.
gone in, they've really tried to craft the products in. We just got wind. Southern Crown, which is Budweiser in South Carolina and Georgia. We just partnered with them. They're our distributor, but we just got wind through Southern Crown 2 days ago that Refuel is going to be picking this up. So they are focusing on these kind of products and really helping us get the education piece out there. But this is your new generation of your Red Bulls and your Monster Energies. I mean, this is kind of what people are looking for. So again, the lift side of this is that ginseng, rhodiola, and B vitamins, and then we have a balance version, which is 2 other flavors, and that has ashwagandha in it, and also go-to cola.
Huh.
So it's just that just really relaxes you. So it's just this, and again, I don't know how much you're familiar with those products, but ashwagandha is a plant, and it's just a shrub, and it's just really, really interesting. But they're tasty. You can taste a little bit of earthiness to them because they just, you know, you're really dealing with plant medicine, but they have just great effect base to them. They're awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, ashwagandha is really good. It actually helps supplement those who have blood sugar disabilities, such as mine. That helps to actually lower it quite a little bit as well. So that's awesome. That's so cool. Man,
Yeah. That basis of your pet line, was that for your dog that it was created, or was it just the general need that you've seen in the market?
There was a general need in the market, but I will tell you, I have a Weimaraner. So if
I've
there's
seen
ever,
it.
if there's ever a
Yeah.
dog that needs something to chill him out, it's him. Actually, he's a good Weimaraner. I've had 3 Weimaraners in my life. They say they're either crazy or lazy, and I'd never seen a version of a lazy one until I got this one here, and his name's Waylon, and he's pretty awesome. But he definitely has a little pet chew from the Charleston Hemp Collective brand every day. It kind of just relaxes him. And for those people who don't know about cannabis and their animals, I mean, the endocannabinoid system in our dogs is amazing. Their receptors, they really, this stuff works well for them.
Yeah, such a wholesome brand. Seriously, I mean, you know, and not to shit on any of the other brands that we've, but you know, they focus on they get into edibles and they get into brownies and the cookies, and that's great. That's nothing innovative there, but when you stick to your core beliefs of what you're trying to create, it's just good products for good people and for good animals, right? So when you're creating these things, you're sticking to that brand loyalty where you're not just going, well, whatever's trendy will make it. Right?
Yeah.
You're not going to put it out there because that dilutes the brand and then it's a race to the bottom. So now you're just like, but it was funny because like you're going through all these things. I mean, it's just like, yeah, and I'm in Guangzhou, China, and you know, I've been on the moon twice. I don't like to talk about it, but you know, it's cool. It's cool. It's not what you think. It's a lot colder, anyway. So, but yeah, it's so cool. There's just so many different things you guys are being able to go forward with. We love this. We absolutely love this, and we get a lot of them. We like a lot of these drinks come through, but I will say, hands down, I have loved this product during this whole time. I've loved this.
Favorite one, actually, I would say.
The blood orange?
No. High Rise.
Oh yeah.
Like best flavor, best experience.
Dude,
like,
this pineapple.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank
fire.
you, guys. awesome. I love
Serious.
No, it's beautiful product. Like, we appreciate the work that you guys put in
Yeah.
because there are so many products that are like heady focused or like it's very stony culture, and this is very clean. Like, this is something I could see in either of my parents' home. Not that necessarily they would drink it yet, potentially depending on the moment and what's going on in their life and what they need it for.
Well, and
But
for
it's
those,
clean enough that
and a lot of, I mean,
It's
like, you know, you
anymore.
think about those ultra conservative people, such as like a lot of people in the LDS faith. You know, I would tell every single one of those who, you know, being a member of that church, this is something you absolutely should have in your home because of just this chillness about it. Like, you don't feel inebriated, you feel very relaxed. There's not a, I've tried other Delta 9 products, either it has way too much in it, more than what they say is on the tin, and it'll get me really anxious. You know what I'm talking about, right? When you
Yeah.
have way
Yeah.
too much. And this just is so relaxing. It's
or
so
like
nice.
their recipe isn't very good. So
Yeah.
you have like a
Mhm.
really weird experience and you're like, okay, I know this says it's hemp derived, but like what's the COA? What's the quality of this? Like, because the experience isn't nice. This is incredibly clean.
Yeah, and it looks like a brand. I mean, just to look at the brand, this is a lot of trust into this because it looks so clean. You don't think it was put together in somebody's garage and quickly shrink wrap with a hairdryer, right? They put some little sleeve over and oh, that's good, and you get over there and it's peeling off. Like,
Bubs, buds.
yeah,
Oh, shit,
it's
this will get you
so,
high.
it's just such a clean, wonderful ad. It's absolutely our favorite. Like, it's in my fridge at home. And right in my bedroom, I had this little fridge over there so my kids can't get into the rest of my wife and my shit. And so just like, look, just let us have our snacks. But this is like half of it is this, and then the half of it's whatever my wife drinks. So this is fantastic. This is so good. We couldn't recommend this enough.
Oh, it's
This is the
wonderful
best.
stuff. We'll have all the links below in the show notes. So
Yeah.
make sure you go check them out. Follow High Rise, follow Matt and his journey on Instagram. I found it. I found your new Instagram because I was looking at your wife's and because I was like, oh, I got to find these people, learn about them. And your wife's was like, oh, my husband doesn't even have a social. But then I went and found it through like some High Rise one, to something else. And I was like, oh, look, here he is. Saw your videos.
I got 100. I think I got like 175 followers, man. I'm doing great.
Oh, you're catching up to me. I've
we'll
been on
blow
there
that
for
up.
years.
Yeah, we'll help blow that up. But yeah, definitely. You know what, man? It just kind of goes back to it again. You had to be called out saying, hey, look, I just need to get a hold of you. See, now you had to move out of that tree house and actually find a place with a
Get
phone.
a cell phone.
Yeah, so this is good. This is your new cell phone, dude.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's almost what it's like. It's like another job. I'm learning that really quick, having to
Yeah.
film some things here and there. But guys, thank y'all so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
It's been
absolutely.
amazing.
Well,
We love
thanks
your stuff.
again. And everybody, again, go down, see the show notes below. Go follow Matt and get yourself a
Some
case
High
of that
Rise.
one. Delicious pineapple is absolutely fire.
Oh, the blueberry's really good too. I love
And the
that one.
lime.
I haven't had that one
Oh
yet.
man,
Have to
that's
try it.
awesome. It's so awesome. Good come down. But yeah. All right, everybody. Take care.